Happy end of the weekend for those that celebrate. What are we doing here? Who am I? I'm Mark. You know me. So I got a message in a group chat today that Mario Kart 64 had been given the PC decompiler treatment. And that was some very good news on what has otherwise been a pretty fucking dreadful day for news, shall we say. So instead of giving myself a severe anxiety attack by reading the live news feed all day, I went and did a bunch of other things. I cooked food, I went for a walk, I played my cats, played a lot of Clair Obscure, all the good things, you know. And now I'm going to play this PC decompile of Mario Kart 64. For those of you who don't know what PC decompilation is, if that's the word we're going for, from the limited amount that I understand of it, it's basically a reverse engineer of an N64 game. That effectively turns the game into C code, which then makes it a PC port, or you know, can turn it into a PC port, which speeds up the process significantly compared to stuff like the Ship of Harkonnen Zelda remake that's been going on for years. And we had Majora's Mask last year, which I played through the entirety of and was like playing that game for the first time. That was incredible. The Star Fox 64, aka Lilac Wars decompiler, which I think was late last year, maybe. That was not finished, but was still in a pretty good place. I played a bit of the Go-Man 64 port, which I think is finished now. And then there's this one that I know of. Maybe they're trying to say something about me. Maybe. I don't know. I'm sorry. I apologize on behalf of Twitch ads. And obviously, so it's like, okay, cool. So it's a PC port. What does that mean? Well, what that means is that gives greater options and ease down the road to implement stuff like HD textures, 60 FPS, a more kind of manageable or controller remapping, which you could do anyway if you were using like RetroArch, widescreen support, and a bunch of other stuff as well. And again, having played Majora's Mask last year, and doing all of this, like you can do this all like hook it up to your Steam Deck as well, which is just like insane. So playing Majora's Mask last year was like a real revelation for me, because that is my favorite game of all time, and it did feel like I was playing for the first time a game. And I adore the N64. I adore my time with the N64. I am absolutely not a hater, but you play some of these games through this like this process, and it's just it's hard to kind of put, and you'll see it anyway. I played like a few minutes of this just to get everything set up, but you'll just see straight away just how incredible it looks. This still has some work to do. You'll see straight away, like, the biggest issue is the fact that with the game blown up to to like a higher resolution and running a 60 FPS, mainly like the 2D character sprites of like the racers, it's a bit janky. I'm sure they'll be saying that they'll work on. But I slapped this up to 4x resolution. I have VSync on just for the bants. It looks pretty good, so we'll play through, I don't know, a couple of cups or whatnot. And the actual process for doing this, for anyone that doesn't know, is super easy. All of these projects, there is a Git repository. The only issue is that they don't use official names, because it's like as far as I'm aware, Nintendo have not thrown the ban hammer down at any of these yet, because like technically they don't use like the actual game. Like you have to provide the ROM in order to like get the game to work. Like the project on its own doesn't do anything without the ROM. Now I'm sure Nintendo will find a way to be like, yeah, but you know, fuck you. But it hasn't happened yet, so we'll see. You're a hater yourself. Open up N64 because what if you're not working, kid? Look. In hindsight, there are things about the N64 that I can completely understand that are, you know, look, the 3-prong controller was a choice. I respect it in the grand scheme of things. It's a fucking nightmare to emulate, like with the C buttons, you know, trying to emulate that on a... The amount of times in No Mercy I've like gone to try to do like an Irish whip and I've done one of the other commands, you know, it is a pain. But that's where these PC ports come in. And if you want to know how to do any of this, I'm not going to tell you, but like there are many YouTube guides out there, and the process, if you can do one of these ports, then the rest work exactly the same. Steam Deck is a little bit more fiddly to set up, but it is still manageable. And thank you for the follow, Doc. Thank you very much. Alright, let's get the music back up. Just check. Are we... Yep, we're in it. And we'll start 100cc. I quickly realized that I'm terrible at this game because I am Mario Kart 8 pilled, so like drifting just does not work for me anymore. But yeah, immediately you can see just like how clean the textures look, and obviously this thing's running 60 FPS, and it's very weird. Like it takes a good few minutes because, you know, I have a very vivid memory of what Mario Kart 64 looks like in my brain, and it's running at 30 FPS, you know, and it doesn't look as clean as this, so it feels like my brain is playing tricks on me. Probably compounded as well by the fact that, again, like the images of the characters, the sprites, they're all using the original resolution. I'm sure at some point they're going to get cleaned up, but that is like the most kind of noticeable thing that's an issue so far. My favorite Back to the Future movie? Well, that's just the first one. Like, come on. Do you know I've never seen the third Back to the Future movie? Genuinely. I've threatened to on a number of occasions to sit down and watch that thing, and I've never got around to it. And I've only seen the second one a handful of times. Like, I've seen the original 5 or 6 times. But I don't watch films. Like, other than like My Neighbor Totoro, I don't watch films like that often on repeat. Hit the start button where you can hit the... Oh, yeah. Now, whether... Hi, Toad. Whether I'll be able to do that... well, I'm not going to try because I'm sure I won't be able to do it. But we are not doing pro strats here, I'll tell you that much. Are there people out there that are... Back to the Future 3 truthers? Do those people exist? Thank you for the subscription, by the way. Oh my god, that's so kind of you. Thank you. Yeah, no, are there Back to the Future 3 truthers out there? I've never heard anyone say that they would say the third is the best one. That seems insane. Like, I'm sure it's to be like the one person who has that opinion. But that has to be, you know, everyone has to have their one favorite or something. Oh my god, that cow looks great. I'm gonna have to get a Switch 2 at some point. I do need to ride around as Moo Moo. Actually, you know what? If someone is able to mod in Moo Moo into Mario Kart 64, I have no reason to buy a Switch 2. Now, with that said, new Donkey Kong does look pretty sick, so I still probably need to at some point. And Metroid Prime 4, which is or isn't out, depending on who you ask. Well, was it, if I recall, was it 1 and 2 were filmed at the same time, or was it 2 and 3 were filmed at the same time? I feel like 2 of them were done around about the same time. Yeah, it is like, without knowing much about 3, or the trilogy as a whole, it's a real left field sort of turn. And I'm sure there's like video essays out there kind of talking about why they went in that direction. To end of the trailer 3. Alright, so yeah, then they must have been filmed at the same time. I wonder, because, you know, like, when was that third one? That was, what, early 90s? Somewhere around there, anyway. And I do have this vivid memory of, like, it's mainly Hook, of being the type of film that looked like it was, like, it looks like a set, you know, obviously it is, but it looks like the sort of thing that you would go to Universal Studios and see. And I kind of like, I tied that and then the actual Terminator 2 Universal Studios thing they did. So I wonder if the plan was like, yeah, we'll turn this into like a thing that you can go to a theme park or whatnot and do something with. I don't know. Every time I watch Hook, I like it a little bit less. And that part of me as a child that had just a wide-eyed wonder for the spectacle of it. Dustin Hoffman is obviously still great. It's not a very good film though, is it? Come on, let's be honest. Wait, they did a Telltale? I do not remember that at all. I mean, fucking, by like the time, you know, that whole thing imploded, what didn't have a Telltale entry? God. Imagine making, like, The Walking Dead's and having, well, you could see like they had free roam to do whatever they want. The problem is that they decided to do everything. Yeah, fuck you, Peach. What? God, I played a bit of, I think I played like a bunch of the Batman one, because the Telltale games I appreciated more than I enjoyed actually playing. So I always kind of had those things to my peripheral vision, more so than things I was actively like trying to play. But I'm still, you know, my ear is still pretty much to the ground about things that are coming out, and I had no idea there was a Back to the Future one. Did it have like, was it using the character models of like Michael J. Fox? Still exists at a point in time. Yeah, I mean, look, but I mean, you can go through and like look at, as someone who's, you know, again, Ocarina of Time and whatnot. The moment you implement time travel, you can basically do whatever the fuck you want with it. You know, I've watched Dragon Ball Z. I watched the Trunks Saga. So I don't kind of hold too much stock into these things. I play Crash 3. What? Yeah, just drive over the crab, Mark. Good job. I'm gonna win. But maybe I should go watch. Maybe I should go watch Back to the Future 3 at some point. Actually, I'm trying to think. Jeez, I've seen like 3 films this year, because I would usually watch films with now my ex. Like, she was the reason that I'd watch anything, basically. And so, like, since we broke up, all I've been doing is just, like, working on Axes and playing video games. That's kind of like my default state. What have I seen? I've seen Sinners. Oh, I saw Nosferatu at the start of the year. That was pretty good. Bit long. Man, I've never gotten caught, like, by the train twice. I wonder if that's because of the frame rate. See, I can't second monitor films if I'm working, because I can't give it like the attention. Like my second monitor, well, I used to have 3 monitors, and that was really fucking bad for like my attention. I went down to 2 to try and like calm the fuck down a bit. But basically, it's either wrestling or it's football. The only 2 things that I'll second monitor while working, because I need something that has like a bit of background noise, but nothing I have to pay attention to, other than like if, you know, a highlight pops up or whatnot. But yeah, no, films I can't do. Oh yeah, I mean the bat. Fucking. I would sooner watch fucking Batman and Robin before I watch the Batman again. And not because I didn't like the Batman, I thought it was pretty cool, but you know, there's no fucking way that you're doing a repeated viewing of that. It just, yeah, and like there are elements of it that I thought were excellent, but that whole third act just because like for the first 2 acts it kind of, it feels like a really unique take on Batman in a way. Like it felt like they'd gone in a direction they hadn't really done before, or like in a long time. And then the whole third act just feels like straight out of the Nolan trilogy. Really let me down. God knows if that sequel's ever gonna happen. Yeah, and that's why My Neighbor Totoro is my favourite film of all time, because you're done in like 86 minutes. Get in, get out. Love it. And it's beautiful. And a phrase where I'm like, this month let's watch only things in the 20s. Yeah, we had a little period where we were doing a little bit of like Criterion stuff, and God, what was it? We watched, was it 12 Angry Men, I think it was called? 12 something men or another. It's like a single room, and there's like a jury trying to decide if this guy's guilty or not. And that was about just over 90 minutes. And man, fucking great film. Like the kind of thing that you look at and think, I mean, this would be great as like a theatrical production, and then it turns out that he did turn it into a theatrical production. So that really kind of sticks out in the back of my mind. Well, you say this because I very much am in the same bracket as well, but I'm playing Clair Obscur at the moment, and I was like, oh cool, this is a game that has like 20 to 30 hours and you're done with like the main campaign. But I am licking the goddamn plate clean on that thing. You know, if a game has enough of a hook in terms of its either like world building or just like artistic direction or combat, or in this case all 3 of them, man, I will, yeah, I'll lick the plate clean, and I'm doing it with Clair Obscur at the moment because it's a genuinely unique setting with an interesting combat mechanic, and like every boss encounter, every level area, biome is genuinely like unique and engaging. So yeah, while I would very much also be in the same bracket of like sticking to stuff. Oh no! Spaghetti Cart has crashed. Well, look, this is not finished yet. This is not an official release. These things will happen. Oh no! Alright, let's just jump to just chatting while I fix fix this. All I did was win. Does winning crash the game? We'll see if that does that again. I to this day have still not played Red Dead Redemption 2, and I don't know if I ever will. And I love OG Red Dead. It's one of, like, you know, the highlights of that generation. But the idea of playing, I remember I was doing like a Game of the Year. I was doing like a Game of the Year podcast, and I think it was Barry was saying, mate, I don't know if you know Barry, but Barry was like, because he knows what my sensibilities are, and he's like, Mark, it takes, like, you start playing this game, you know, you can't just do like a 30-minute session, you know, you're there for like 3 hours to do anything at any one given time. And I'm just like, nah. Nah, not for me at all. So, you know, alas. Alright, let us jump back into screen record. Yeah. And then we'll leave it there. But I did want to at least get a bit of a vibe check on this. I'll be married this time. Let us jump to the Star Cup. But no, I've tried to, like, I never played any of the Final Fantasy games until I was, like, a good sort of 10 years later. Like, Final Fantasy VII, I played on the PS Vita. That was my first time experiencing that. And I did that because it had a pick-up and playability about it being on the Vita. And now I try to do, like, 1 or 2 Final Fantasy games a year, or thereabouts. But it's usually between, like, when there's nothing else to play. So I played a bunch of 12, the Zodiac Age, early this year. I think I got about halfway through it and then I just stopped. So I have to get back to that at some point. But, like, you know, I have the intention to play all the Final Fantasies at some point, but, you know, they are a time commitment. Yeah, look, I started playing early 90s. I think I was about 4 when I was given an NES. So I had Super Mario 3, Mega Man 2, and Bart vs. the World, which is like, one of those is not like the other. And to this day, Mega Man 2 is still, you know, one of my favorite games of all time. And obviously Mario 3 is excellent as well. Bart vs. the World, can't say I have such glowing things to say about it. 9 years old when you played MG. Now, I only beat Metal Gear Solid for the first time last year. I attempted to play that game twice at points over the years, and I think I would get past, like, just past the Psycho Mantis section, and because I don't particularly enjoy the Metal Gear Solid games. I appreciate them in certain aspects and find them intolerable in other aspects, but I was like, no, this is a series I have to play and beat. Which is why I'm starting Mass Effect tomorrow, which I'll be streaming, because I've never played the Mass Effect series, and that was £6 on Steam, so I was like, well, that's a bargain, we're doing that. Mario 3 is great, and I was arguing my head of Super Mario. It is those two, though I do like 2 as well for being like the weird dark horse redheaded stepchild of the series. Wonder was pretty solid as well. I think it is World. I mean, you can make the argument that, like, 3 is the kind of prototype for, like, every Mario game to come afterwards. But World is just... God, World is a... I should probably go and actually beat Mario World. I haven't done that in a while. I think the level design across the board is more interesting and more varied. And I think it's just got a little bit more of like kind of intrigue to the overworld. And I think the soundtrack also as well is and then also like the late game levels, like the bonus levels and shit. Like there's a lot about World that and I think this just kind of goes for like SNES in general. Like SNES graphics are... I'm not going to go over that unless I have to be big. There we go. SNES graphics. Am I going to make that now? I don't think I'm going to make that. Shit. No. SNES graphics have held up in a way where, like, you look at a 16-bit pixel art game made in 2020 or now, and unless you've got something like insanely talented from a team like Sea of Stars, your brain kind of goes, oh, that looks like something I'd have played on the SNES, you know? And stuff like Mario World and Link to the Past are like properly timeless. I like Odyssey, but oh. Where was I? Yeah, Odyssey is like a 4 out of 5 for me, where like Galaxy has the Gusty Gardens song, so you know that's as perfect a fucking song as you can get in a video game. Oh my god, this is 60 FPS is going to be a nightmare. Did I finish Mario Galaxy 2? Because I didn't play Galaxy 2 at the time. Galaxy 2 was also another game that I didn't come to till years later. Actually, I think it was only like in the last 2 years that I played that, because I got a Nintendo Wii, and I did jailbreak it. I think I actually bought an actual copy, because I think I found it in CEX when I was over in England, like 15 quid. But I don't think I've actually finished Galaxy 2 now, think about it. I know I played a bunch of it. That's something I'm going to have to go and finish at some point. God. So many projects. I really do wonder, though, like... And I've been saying this for a while with, like, 3D Mario games. Like, what do you do? Because... And I was kind of saying this after Galaxy. I was like, alright, once you've been to space, like... where else do you go? And stuff like Mario Maker was like a nice kind of stopgap, and was actually like really great. You know, do you make Sunshine 2? Do you bring Flood back? Are the people calling for Flood? It might be. It's really hard to think, like, you know, do you do Mario open world? I don't think Mario is conducive to open world. Whoa. Because, you know, the Switch, the mechanical change that they made with Zelda, which they've been doing through the years, like, you know, the way that series has mutated, has had obviously more of a shift compared to like the way that Mario has. And I don't think it's by any means perfect. Like, while I think Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom are exceptional games, there is a part of me that still does kind of prefer Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. And it's because I'm a dungeon pervert, and like I love the dungeon design of those two games. The stamina meter kind of, and you can kind of see it with Tears of the Kingdom, because obviously like they did the Divine Beasts with Breath of the Wild, which was novel enough, and I don't mind them, but like you could tell when they tried to do the dungeons in Tears of the Kingdom that they just couldn't quite get the design of them right. So there's this a game that's coming out that's made by a solo developer called Azaran something of the Djinn. I don't remember the exact name, but they had a demo out for Steam Next Fest, and it's like, here's Ocarina of Time but with like a kind of Aladdin sort of Persian twist on it, and it's great. It looks like a game that was made for the N64 but had a decompile port to it. It's really, really worth checking out if you haven't had a chance. Yeah, well, you say that, but like you had Mario Wonder. Jesus, was that last year? Or was that already 2 years ago now? Mario Wonder, while by no means like a complete new, like Mario 2D game, still felt pretty fresh and had elements of it where they were trying to kind of bring in, because while Mario obviously has been like a solid platformer, it's not quite at the Meat Boy, Celeste, like proper bastard hard challenging style type of platform. Some of the bonus levels, the star levels in Mario World aside, and I feel like Mario Wonder was an attempt to kind of go a little bit more in that direction. And obviously just like, the stuff like the elephant gimmick, there was that creative flair is still there. But 3D, yeah, I'm so curious about what the next Mario 3D game looks like and what gimmick, what spin they put on it, because, God bless them, like Nintendo have been astoundingly creative for 40 odd years. But we'll see. So I will push back on the towers, because at least like now I haven't played an Assassin's Creed game since 2, but from what I recall, like getting up the towers is not that difficult. Whereas like getting up a tower in Breath of the Wild, and especially in Tears of the Kingdom, that was a whole puzzle in itself. Like I remember the first tower that I came across in Tears of the Kingdom, and it was the one that was around a moat, and like it was literally just, hey, figure a way to get across this moat. How you do it, we ain't give a fuck, that's up to you. So naturally I just built a stupidly long bridge that was incredibly impractical. So I actually quite like that they had the tower gimmick in there, because A, it gives you points of interest to go towards, and then obviously you get distracted by 1,000 things that happen between there and the tower. But the towers themselves were also like an accomplishment in terms of how you got up them. So yeah, all right. I mean, if you want to make that point, I won't argue with that. Yeah, I mean, I think because like Breath of the Wild, it was just literally about climbing them, and climbing in those two Zelda games was like my one thing where, like, I understood why the stamina gimmick was in there and it had to be in there, and while there was something to the climbing, it still also could be the most tedious thing that you would do. So the way that, Tears of the Kingdom went about it, where it's like, alright, look, we're gonna take the climbing out. You still have to get to the top of the tower. Oh, bye, Luigi. Yeet. But yeah, having the towers be like, okay, You can build a bridge up there. You can build a rocket, boy. You can do a bunch of things. I think that was a really great way of taking the towers and having the objective be the same, but having it how you get up there be different. That's just really smart game design. Thank you, Jazz. Oh my, what the fuck? Do you have the mind's eye, Chaz? No, I have no issue with the weapon kind of design in those two Zelda games. Like that because it made the discovery. Well, it gave a reason for like a shit ton of the you know, chests in the world. It gave a reason to populate out like, you know, 95% of the world, because otherwise, like, what the fuck are you doing? So you had to have the degradation system in there, but it also meant that, you know, you had incentivization to take out some of the harder bosses and whatnot. Do you remember where you were the first time you saw a Korok crucifixion? Man. Shoot crucifixion. Remember when Twitter was good? Ah. Honestly, I think there's like, you know, they had what was Captain Toad's Treasure Tracker. You know how they like turned that mini game into a full game? There's something there with the Koroks that you could turn that into like a $35 or $40 full release, just like yeeting Koroks around the place. And that thing would fucking sell. I'll tell you right now, Nintendo, you can have that one for free. I'll take a 5% royalty check. Korok Space Program, like, come on. Honestly. Come on, Chaz, you work for a studio. You can pitch that to your overlords. Alright, we haven't crashed again, so that's good. Have I cursed myself? No, we're good. Okay. Alright, I'll do the last cup, and then that'll probably take us to the hour. And yeah, as a reminder, tomorrow night I am starting a new series where I am going to play Mass Effect for the first time. Now, will I do all 3 Mass Effects? That remains to be seen. But we're at least going to play through the first one. And maybe I'll do the second one, because I am led to believe that is the best one. So, yeah, that'll be starting from tomorrow. That'll be every Monday. But I haven't really actually kind of paid attention too much to this version of Mario Kart 64, but it's good. It's, you know, it feels like a modern Mario Kart in terms of the movement and the speed now. Yeah, you really can't go wrong with this. Yeah, I remember, like, of the hour of it that I played when I was... Jesus, when did I play that first one? It was definitely about 10 years ago. And I just bounced off of the combat incredibly quickly. But my mentality is, I fucking played Metal Gear Solid, and I didn't like the way that controlled, or anything about that in terms of his mechanics. I'm sure I can deal with Mass Effect. Yeah, I mean, I'll probably do 150, but I didn't want to jump straight to 150 just because I've been playing Mario Kart 8 for like 10 years now. That, like, anytime I go back and play Double Dash, I had a time where, like, Double Dash was my Mario Kart, but I cannot play Double Dash anymore because the physics of that one are so very specific to the fact that you have two drivers. It feels really, really heavy. So I just can't play that one anymore. Not to the degree that I used to be able to play anyway. But it is nice to play 64. It's nice to play a version of Mario Kart that you don't have blue shells raining down on you every 5 fucking minutes. Which actually now I think... Chaz, do you have a Switch too? Do you have Mario Kart World? Because my biggest question is, because you have 24 races, like, that must be complete fucking chaos. That, like, every race must be like Baby Park, basically. Alright, yeah, question there's my question. Does every race feel like Baby Park? Because I just feel like with 24 races that it must do, you know? Well, with 3, I know that obviously there was a change, and, you know, like, well, I'm sure in about 6 months' time we'll get to it, so I can offer my input in that. But I'm looking forward to it. The pack is wow, Jesus. Yeah, like, I've actually managed to avoid watching too much footage of, like, the game, because I do want to try and go in as blind as I can. Well, partially because I don't want to fucking convince myself to buy a Switch 2 yet when I don't have the money to do so. But also, like, I want to try and go in as blind as possible when I eventually get around to playing it. Wow. Well, you know, in fairness, like, the numerical labeling of Mario Kart games, it's not a sequential, like, numbering system, you know, so... Mamma mia. What are we doing? What are we doing, Mark? Actually, oh, what is it off the top of my head? So we got Mario Kart, Super Mario Kart, or Mario Kart 64, Mario Kart Double Dash, Mario Kart Circuit Tour, I think the advanced one is called. I don't think there's an advance in there anywhere. Mario Kart Wii. I think it's just Mario Kart 7, Mario Kart 8. Am I missing one? I got the GameCube one, I got the DS one. Ooh, was there 2 on the DS? I don't think there was 2 on the DS. Problem is I would use my fingers to count right now, but I can't. Yeah, I mean... I should really stop looking at the chat as I'm trying to race here. That is kind of like the big thing. Like, what is the system seller for the Switch 2? And I look, over the last, like, year or two, I really come to the realization that I could make a case for Mario Kart 8 being like a top 10 game of all time for me, because I played so much of it. You know, it is an exceptional game. So, like, Mario Kart World Day 1 is a no-brainer. But at the same time, I've also played a lot of Mario Kart, and also, like, Mario Kart 8 kind of feels like such a perfection of the mechanics of that game that it's like, Yeah, cool. You can add more tracks and whatnot. It's why I think the expansion of Mario Kart 8 in itself was such a good idea, and you know, I think that was the right thing to do. Yeah, because I guess if you think about it, like, Jesus, what was launch for the original Switch? Was Breath of the Wild a day one launch? Because I know it came out on the Wii U. Yeah, it was. Yeah, because I didn't buy the Switch at launch. I bought my Switch a few months later with Splatoon when that came out, which would have been Splatoon 2. Yeah. And Breath of the Wild is like fucking, that is like Halo levels of a system seller, you know. And even like Metroid Prime 4, you know, because Metroid Prime historically is not like the biggest seller out of like all of the core Nintendo franchises. So while that would have been cool as a day one release, that would have also been insane because that's also not a system seller. So ARMS 2, now that would have been a system seller. You know, the return of my boy Helix. That's what we've been asking for. I'm trying to think, was ARMS the only original IP that Nintendo came up with besides Switch 1 2? And did I recall something about like the director of Smash saying that he didn't think there was going to be another Smash? I'm not a Smash guy, so I don't know, but I feel like that was something that I read at some point. I'm sure they will. I'm not saying that another one won't happen. I'm saying that he won't make another one. Or at least, you know, not without a gun being held to his head. Oh, that was very ambitious, Mark. What are you doing? No! Oh, wait, that's me. Worrying about the lightning bolt, and I'm the one that's got it. Oh, wait, how the fuck did I get a lightning bolt in first place? What the hell? Anyway. Yeah, Mario Paint. That's a good shout. Well, I'm sure that'll pop up on the NSO at some point. ARMS is underrated, but also like that thing also didn't sell, so like, you know, I wouldn't be shocked if we never see that again. Ever since how easy the Wii was to modify during and off its life, I've yet to miss a day on Poe. Yeah. I've been wondering, I don't know whether, I'm sure Mr. Nintendo will not see this stream, but I've yet to like do anything to my Switch yet. Partially because I have a Steam Deck, and like anything I could do on my Switch, I can just do on my Steam Deck, but I do also have a Switch sitting there not doing anything now, so I do kind of wonder just for like the bants if I should tinker with it, shall we say. Oh, Labo, yeah, Jesus. I mean, that's, you know, that's fucking thing. Actually, honestly, you know what? You're not wrong there. I keep forgetting about the GameCube stuff. Like, yes, it's ridiculous that they only had what was it? Was it just the 3 games at launch? And you know, thankfully, fucking F-Zero GX is one of them. F-Zero. Like my only theory I can have for why we haven't had an F-Zero game is twofold. A, because Mario Kart 8 was still selling fucking 100,000 copies every week, and I guess maybe they thought they didn't want to cannibalize that if they thought that like those two would cross over. But also just like racing games feel a bit passe in 2025. Now obviously F-Zero is not like a traditional racing game, but it's obviously okay, maybe not so much that, maybe just still the first thing. Maybe they thought that it would like cannibalize, or that you've got Mario Kart 8, so why bother doing F-Zero? I don't know. But you're right, with the GameCube thing, for Smash, you get the GameCube one on there, you're solid, at least with that crew, at least anyway. I don't know. I hear the Rainbow Road on Mario Kart World is pretty epic. Better than this fucking thing. And the soundtrack as well. Someone posted earlier in one of my group chats part of the soundtrack that was using 6 Golden Coins music. That was a deep cut that I very much appreciated. Yeah, I just like I'm still waiting for the day when they Diddy Kong Racing Mario Kart, and I was kind of hoping that we might get that at some point, but it just obviously isn't going to happen. And you can't really do that with F-Zero. So like, do you bolt on a fucking RPG element to that, or I don't know. Yeah, that's like, I'd been tempted to like just go and jump onto YouTube and listen to some, but it's like, nah, you kind of got to listen to the Mario Kart soundtrack in the context of the game itself. Honestly, my biggest question at the moment is, do I sell my PS5 and put that money towards getting a Switch 2? Because that PS5, genuinely the last thing that I used that PS5 for was to watch the Twilight Saga at the end of last year. I do not know, I can't think if I've actually booted that thing up in 2025. And like, thinking about what PS5 games are coming out this year, I didn't play Ghost of Tsushima. I do not care for its follow-up. So it's like, why do I still have it, you know? And I would much, you know, I would much rather play the new Donkey Kong sooner than anything that the PS5 is going to, Sony is going to announce. So maybe it's just time to kind of cut my losses and get rid of that damn thing. Whoa. Oh, come on, bollocks. Oh shit, fun hop. I thought we were done. Never mind. Yeah, I actually, you know, I mean, I think this is the case with like that and the Smash soundtracks. For as much as I have no affinity for the Smash soundtracks, like you are correct. Like those composers do not get paid enough for like what they do. And you know, you can make the argument that it's like, well, they're just taking old songs and like giving it a fresh coat of paint. And it's like, I mean, that is absolutely doing them a disservice for what they do to those songs. Here we go. Here we go. He's got this. Yeah, that is exactly how music works. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, well, like, I mean, that's just a wider conversation about what AAA production looks like in 2025. And Nintendo clearly making a very conscious decision from like the GameCube onwards to be like, you know what, you Sony, Microsoft, you go do what you're gonna do. We're fine over here. Because yeah, I mean, if you were to like, what is Microsoft's? Actually, not Microsoft and Sony for the PS4, Xbox One. Their combined first-party release probably doesn't match like Nintendo's first-party stuff, and I'm talking like Microsoft, not like the 300 studios that they acquired. I mean, honestly, I think my biggest surprise with the Switch 2 is just how well it sold. I was very much in the camp thinking that the price point was just going to be a barrier for too many people. So that's and obviously like the fact that it doesn't have, you know, the strongest launch lineup. And like my only running theory that I have is that with the way things are going with like the PS5, like for the first time ever, as far as I can see, the price of consoles or the price of hardware going up instead of down. Like I wonder if there's anything to the idea that, like, you know, I'm like, do I hold off to get a Switch 2 to like maybe Christmas and see if there's a bundle deal or whatnot? But it's like, what are the chances Nintendo would just be like, nah, you know, you can buy it at the same price, or maybe we'll put it up by 20 quid. I don't know. It's just, yeah, it's insane. It's insane how many units they've sold. Yeah, it's not great. The price of games is obviously a major issue, and Nintendo aren't exactly known for discounting their games. So that is the one major issue that I have. Now, once I get a job, it'll be fine. Or once Axis sells 1 million copies, then I'll have nothing to worry about. But, you know, it's just, yeah, I do not want to spend 500 quid when I could just spend six quid and have all 3 Mass Effect games. So yeah, that'll be what we'll be doing tomorrow night. Yeah, no, yeah, I mean, yeah, there is that. But also just, again, like, honestly, like, from the moment that I got my Steam Deck, outside of like Tears of the Kingdom, primarily most of my gaming has been on my Steam Deck, for legitimate means and or otherwise. And like the Nintendo exclusives that we've had over like the last 2 years or so very much kind of felt of the oh, excuse me, we're coming to the tail end of the cycle, you know. Oh dear. Alright, well, that is Mario Kart 64 decompiled. That is pretty nifty. I'll be curious to see what they do with that. I should go and actually have a look as well, because I'm sure the Star Fox 64 port has had a shit ton of it done to it since the last time that I played it. So I should go and check that again. And probably the Majora's Mask one for that as well. And I will take any excuse to go play that again. But that thing was actually quite feature complete when I played it at the time as well anyway. But that's another conversation for another day. Alright. We're at an hour. That'll do me just fine. Doc, thank you so much for hanging out. Appreciate it. That was a healthy conversation to have over a game that there isn't really that much to talk about, so I do appreciate it. And Chaz, good seeing you as always. Yeah. And Chaz, message me about when you're coming to Ireland. God damn it, get my DMs. But yeah, so tomorrow night we're gonna jump into Mass Effect, so that will be a happening. That'll be happening every Monday. And we'll leave it there for now. So enjoy your Switch 2s, you lucky pair of bastards, and enjoy the rest of your Sunday evening. Try not to get the Monday blues. And yeah, we'll see you again next time. Cheers.